Very often people are sort of sick all over the table, tell you all your problems, and we can actually often act as that mediator between those on the cold face and the leaders in the business who probably might not. So we can construct something that says, we're seeing these challenges that you might not have appreciated. One of the buying team turned around and said, it used to take me all day just to analyse one supplier on the stocking levels. I can now do the whole lot in 2 hours. Now, if you did that out on a shop floor on a machine tool, you save literally thousands of hours worth of process improvement. People would be really, really excited and happy about that. But we don't seem to view it as something that's sexy when it comes down to some of our back office processes.
Welcome back to Made to Grow, the podcast for ambitious SME manufacturers, brought to you by Flowlens MRP and MES software. My guest this week is Mark Wood from Alliance Procurement Solutions, an experienced procurement professional with a 20-year history at Rolls-Royce, who is now helping manufacturing SMEs build resilience into their supply chains and processes. Mark brings a wealth of experience to our conversation as we discuss how to make more from what you've got in terms of data and systems, the importance of data clarity for better decision making, and embedding sustainability into your business. The most successful change is people-driven, and Mark imparts many important lessons you'll not want to miss. Let's jump in. Hello folks, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Made to Grow podcast. I'm delighted this time round to welcome Mark Wood from Alliance Procurement Solutions. Hi Mark.
Hi Rich, how are you doing?
Thanks very much for joining us. We had a great conversation yesterday in the run-up to this episode, so I'm really excited to share with the listeners your sort of insights and experience around how you can help SME manufacturers make more from what they've got, really, and build resilience into their supply chains and processes. But could you tell the folks a bit more about yourself and what you do at Alliance Procurement Solutions?
Yeah, hi everyone. So Mark Wood, Managing Director at Alliance Procurement Solutions, APS, I think just keeps it less of a tongue twister. So I had a 20-year history at Rolls-Royce and set up Alliance Procurement Solutions 7 or 8 years ago now. And we work with manufacturing SMEs on their supply chain as a consultancy and procurement activities. But we also then do some work on business intelligence, data analytics as well. So all in all, what we're trying to do, give people better data clarity to make better decisions and improve clarity on their processes and their data, increase profitability, productivity, and embed sustainability into their business and supply chains as well.
Brilliant. I mean, it's the kind of thing that sounds like a no-brainer, but we know that SMEs in particular have obviously the day-to-day pressures and promises to keep, and who knows what's coming around the corner from on high or from internationally. But what do you look for in a business or in an SME? In terms of the sort of receptiveness to what you do?
Yeah, I think that's a really important part of it. So it's really easy to say to people, we can save you X or we can do X, Y, and Z for you. But invariably, people are really busy with their day-to-day jobs and very operationally focused, both in terms of the leaders and owners of the business, but also their teams as well. So I think it's really important when we start to engage with people is to understand what their appetite for change is as well. And having that sponsorship within the business and having that close relationships with the leaders in the business is really important. Because quite frankly, it makes our job really difficult to be able to take people onto the next level and make the improvements if we haven't got that sponsorship within the business. And a key part of that is actually we always start working with the business leaders first and foremost to understand what are the key drivers and what they're trying to achieve. That's an important foundation.
I think you're right. I mean, there's parallels with what we do in the digital transformation side of things, where
Absolutely.
sometimes you find companies are maybe looking for a silver bullet to their problems rather than having a clear picture of where they want to go to. Never mind then having an agreement internally, whether it's at leadership level or throughout the business, about what are the things that are going to get us there, or what are the things that are going to hold us back.
Yeah.
Um, so that appetite for change is really kind of the door opener. If it's not there, you can't. You're fighting an uphill battle, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I think, as business owners and leaders, I think there'd be a few people probably lying if they didn't worry about the profitability and their cash flow, meeting customer demand, the people issues that come with that. No, all of those are inherent issues that people are fighting on a day-to-day basis. So, it's understanding that and the culture within the business is key. Um, but one of the things we do tend to find is I don't like the word consultant because it's sort of, well, here's a nice fancy piece of paper that tells you what you already know. It's really not about that. It's more about, well, where are the key gaps and where can we help, and providing that additional resource to help people get onto the next stage and make those improvements. And
Mhm.
by working closely then with the teams, providing that coaching and our knowledge to help people is be less operational and more strategic and adding more value to the business is a bit where we get more joy.
Yeah, and I suppose it's probably about proving the concept as well. Where not that people are necessarily skeptical about where you can save money, but again, sometimes with things that they can't put their hand on, like scrappage or downtime or whatever, it's hard um equate that to the pound, shillings, and pence that they're losing. What kind of low hanging fruit or quick wins do you tend to find in a business um, that you can progress from?
Okay, so yeah, I think the low hanging fruit that we tend to kind of look for is really it all comes down to that data, which is why data is really important to any business, and looking for those simple opportunities. So from a procurement point of view, it might even be how many orders are we raising on the supplier or in the supply chain? Is it excessive? Are we drowning in that? And are there opportunities to maybe do something different? Have we got areas where we can see costs of increase significantly as well? Just really understanding some of those dynamics help you understand where those opportunities are. But no, again, that could be finance, it could be sales data, it could be anything really. Um, it all comes down to the data and identifying those opportunities.
Hmm. And do you find, is that enough then for people to be able to take action? Because I know sometimes um, in our world we can demonstrate suppliers cost or delivery performance, but and therefore the information's there and staring the procurement person or finance person or MD or whatever in the face, but it still doesn't necessarily mean they have the motivation to do anything about it. Like down to those pressures that you mentioned earlier, just
Yeah.
the so how do you then get that into action? How do you sort of get them to see the value and take action?
Well, there's a couple of bits that sit behind that. Is ultimately you've got to, well, what is the business case for doing that? And sometimes what you tend to find is, oh, I didn't really appreciate that, which you go into a micro level of detailed analysis, and then okay, that's fine, but now what do I do? Well, we can do X, Y, and Z. And historically, then when we can look back at our case studies where, last year was saved over 15% on average within supply chain costs. And from a business reporting analytics perspective, we're also working with a company where just one small business, they're saving over 200 hours a year just on reporting and understanding their budgeting process. And it makes it a lot easy, less error prone, so it's articulating those benefits, and again, why have to line that back into business processes and business objectives um, to make sure that you're fully aligned and meeting the business KPIs. And that's why that stakeholder engagement up front is really important, because we can line everything back to those business challenges.
The Made to Grow podcast is brought to you by FlowLens, the simple, affordable MRP system specifically designed for SME device, equipment and machinery manufacturers. Our top-rated cloud-based software can help you cut down on wasted materials, time and money, and eliminate the chaos of running your manufacturing with spreadsheets and hope. Our customers have reported savings of over a day per week per person in their business by cutting out needless admin, duplication of work and countless mistakes. Plus, lead times are shortened by up to 75%. And after hundreds of successful implementations, we've got the blueprint for manufacturing success nailed down. Head over to flowlens.com for a quick video tour of the software and to hear from more manufacturers like you who have transformed their businesses with FlowLens. Now, back to the interview. That's a really important point, actually, around the business processes, because I think sometimes, a particular scenario, whether it's an opportunity to improve price performance or whatever it might be, or that's a great example of just you saving hundreds of hours purely in reporting. That inertia of pulling data together to the extent that you actually trust it. We've had customers in the past say, I spent so much time trying to get a reliable picture of my current status that by the time I've done it, I'm burnt out and I don't have the brain space to actually then look for the insights that I want in the first place.
Yeah.
But the point you made about the process is really key, because I think, when you're in the middle of an issue, if you don't step back and look at the process that is part of, and have a process and continuous improvement mindset, then it's hard to see how that value can be sustained, or how that behavior can be changed. It's a really important, interesting point.
There's another really good case study where we're working with a company at the minute where they've been struggling with some of their stocking levels that have to be aligned to meet customer demand. And so their supply chain is critical to their business. Their buying team, one of the buyers, so it wasn't even coming from the leadership. One of the buying team turned around and said, "It used to take me all day just to analyse one supplier on the stocking levels. I can now do the whole lot in 2 hours." Now, if you did that out on a shop floor on a machine tool, you save literally thousands of hours worth of process improvement. People would be really, really excited and happy about that. But we don't seem to view it as something that's sexy when it comes down to some of our back office processes and some of the key things that are fundamental to the performance of the business. So, I think that's one of the challenges that you have, is how do we understand that is a real valuable added activity? And for that buyer, what it means for them is now that they can focus on, can I improve my supplier relationships, being the best customer that I possibly can be, and reducing costs, and a significant amount of cost, and optimising my cash flow at the same time. That is pure tangible benefit that is that why wouldn't you want to do it? But it's not sexy.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not sexy, and as you say, it's sort of invisible as well. So yes. I'm paying a salary. I've got a fixed cost, if you like, for a resource. They work hard. They're a good part of the team. But are we analysing how they work? Are we giving them the right tools to work to the best of their ability? I mean, for me, it just comes down to allowing people to have fun during their day and feel like they've accomplished something. Yeah. So that's a great example of somebody who will bounce into work thinking I can make a difference today, rather than how I'm going to spend most of my time trolling through spreadsheets to try and figure out what I'm actually looking for.
Yeah, but I think that's a really good example of our role isn't to take over people's jobs and make them look bad. What we're trying to do is, how can we make your job even more exciting? Would you rather come into work in the morning and think, "Oh God, no! I know I've got to raise a couple of hundred purchase orders this week, and I've got to sit there and just pressing all those buttons," or do I want to spend time just thinking, how can I improve profitability, cash flow within the business, and how can I make sure that my suppliers are working with me? That to me feels like a more rewarding job. So,
Exactly.
if we give
Yeah.
people those tools to express themselves. Now, I'm a big football man. We often talk about soldiers, and Tony Mowbray's recently I've seen talking about soldiers and artists. Actually, can we give people? Can we do the soldier work in the background to enable people to come and express themselves in their job? And I think that's what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, 100%. Not only from that sort of job satisfaction point of view, but from the point of view of the workforce is shrinking. We need to be able to enable our people to do more with their time, and not get burnt out.
Absolutely.
I mean, you hit on an interesting point there about making people look good. Do you come up against sort of misconceptions about what you do? In terms of people fearing for their jobs, or thinking you're going to make them look bad, or whatever. What kind of misunderstandings do people have about the kind of work that you do?
Yeah, I think there is definitely that perception at times. It's really not about that. In the past, I've done most of those jobs, so I understand the pain. I understand how to make it better. I understand how to make that job more rewarding, and take away the stress levels that people have. And actually, half the time, I view it as we embed ourselves within a business and be a part of their team. And sometimes being that independent person, you're a shoulder to cry on. Very often, people are sort of sick all over the table, tell you all your problems, and we can actually often act as that mediator between those on the cold face and the leaders in the business who probably might not. So we can construct something that says, we're seeing these challenges that you might not have appreciated. I think these are things that we need to do about that, and it helps stitch people together. So it's definitely not about making people redundant or anything like that. It's about upskilling them and making their job more rewarding, and ultimately, for the business, is get a better overall business performance.
Mm-hmm. Have you any other examples of those improvements that you've been able to
Yeah, I think
make happen?
I'll tie a bit of opportunity assessment, if you like, where I was working with one business deeply ingrained into sustainability, quite a complex supply chain in the construction sector, and lots of deliveries going off to multiple sites. When you started drilling down into the data, there was almost a bit of a falling off the chair moment when we're talking to the leadership team. It was like, across all of this, over the course of the year, we're spending about £2 million on logistics, delivering carriage charges.
Yeah.
And when you drill even further down into that data, you're able to see that maybe the same supplier is delivering 2-3 times a week into the business or to the sites.
Yeah.
That's not great from a sustainability angle, and it's not great from profitability, and actually from a productivity point of view, just managing all of that. So when you broke it all down, you're talking around about £2 million worth of spend and over 10,000 deliveries a year. If you even just halved that, just by being more efficient in terms of how we operate and manage the business and the operations, there's £1 million saving, and we're reducing our carbon footprint because we're reducing deliveries per million on site. And that's just simple. People get hung up about sustainability. Just get on and do it. Have an impact. We get too hung up about reporting this and the minute detail. If you know that you're halving the number of deliveries, it makes sense that you're reducing your carbon footprint. Get on and do it. So there's simple little things, but it all comes down to, what does the data tell us?
Yeah. I know this is one thing that I can't understand about people who are sort of anti sustainability. That they kind of, it's like nearly all sustainability measures come with a cost saving, or never mind having cleaner air, and things like that. That who wants to breathe in all that crap. But most of it really hits the bottom line, and if it forces this to think in a more kind of lean mindset, and it forces to think more efficiently. It's a win-win, because that then changes the culture of the business.
Yeah.
And so
And I think that's the bit around sustainability. It's not just the environment, it's about having a well run business and all the
100%.
ECG bit that comes with all of that. So, again, this is why data and intelligence and reporting around all of those elements are fundamental to having a well run business when you consider the wider ESG implications. And that governance of how you manage that is vital. And we talk about
Yeah.
democratizing data as a tool and a way of doing that.
I was going to actually come on to that, because you mentioned at the start that you help people generally with analytics, and the word itself can be off-putting for people. I know we've found in some cases that again, it's sort of too much on. Don't bamboozle me with more tech. How do you cut through? And I love that term of democratizing it, because people are sitting on a gold mine of data in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get that? I suppose it's that back to that low hanging fruit. How do you get that first convincing argument for people to say, actually, you know what, there's so much opportunity here?
I think the way that we tend to approach it is just show the art of the possible first.
Yeah.
Because people get scared with data, business intelligence, think it's expensive, think it's really quite complicated. And we try and take that pain away for people. Just say, well, here's the art of the possible. This is what it could look like. But what's now really important for your business? What's your biggest pain point where data might be able to unlock that? So what are you trying to achieve? And then we work back from that point of view. What we try and do is just say, just tell us what you want. We'll advise and guide you on that process. Where does that data live? And let us worry about the bit in the middle. So all you have to do then as a leader in the business is just go, I just need to see this. Let us crack on and let us sort the rest of it out for you. We'll engage with the team as we go along and build something that's fit for purpose for the business, that's going to add that value to them, whether it be profitability, finance reporting, supply chain, HR, marketing, whatever that might be. Where are those opportunities that give them the biggest pain?
100%. Yeah, I think it's, maybe I'm speaking for myself here, but when you're running a small business, you're kind of thinking, I need to do everything, and you can't. You're not an expert in everything, so it's a recipe for disaster if you get stuck in the weeds of the how. Whenever the how it has been handled, there's a solution out there for it. If you know what, if you've got the right question, then how you arrive at the answer and give yourself that insight, that's been solved.
Yeah, we work with a business that was spending as a business leader, £3 to £4 million turnover business, fabrication business. He was spending probably 4 or 5 hours every weekend exporting Excel sheets out of his ERP system, looking at sales orders, sales invoices, gross margin, delivery performance, and enquiry conversion rates. And he had an A3 sheet for one part of that told him everything and told him nothing. But he viewed that, and there's 4 different business units within his business. We took all of that data, created a dashboard just covering those 4 areas of his business, and created for each of the business units access for each of the individual business units and the leaders in those business units to be able to see the data for their own business unit, whilst the management could see the overall level. As a pure impact on that, their profitability on the gross margin went from 43% to 50% in the space of 17 weeks. And he used to say it's the one thing that he did that nobody could argue with. And we had a bit of, that's a load of crap. And then they went away, looked at it, came back, said, no, it's right. That's, and he used to say, I used to walk in the office and the team would be sat around looking at the charts, looking at the data, and he'd be getting phone calls then on a Friday afternoon saying why something wasn't happening. He said, I'd never had that in 30 years. Now, and just to put that into perspective, on an annualised basis, that was around about £250,000 increase in gross margin just by looking at the data and democratising it.
It's massive, and it's sort of creating that, or democratising the ownership of it. So not only has he saved himself 4 or 5 hours a week of that spreadsheet jockeying, that that transparency has created ownership across the team, by the sounds of things, to be able to make decisions and take action.
Yeah, and that 4 or 5 hour process on a weekend on a Saturday rather than do something with his wife and his family. Maybe that's why he did it, I don't know. But it took him probably 5 minutes to download those Excel files and send them to us, and then we did the rest. And then the next stage was, it's about automating then that process. So it's not painful, but it's just set out with what do you want to try and achieve, what's the key pain points, what would have most benefit to your business, and where do we work then 100%. From there.
Well, Mark, we're sort of coming to the end of the episode, so I like to ask all of my guests to leave the listeners with one actionable piece of advice that they can take away from the episode, and some thought provoking or actionable. So, what would that be for yourself?
I might roll 2 into 1 and cheat a little bit. It's my old footballer in me, so give me an inch and I'll take a mile. But I think it comes down to, when you look at your business, how well are you using data within your business, and really get to understand within your teams how many spreadsheet workarounds are being managed to give you the right decisions. And are you really making sense of that data? Do you truly understand it?
100%.
Have a look at that.
You're absolutely right. It comes back to that prior example. It's just so much time potentially going into looking at the wrong things, or doing the donkey work and not seeing the wood for the trees. Pardon the pun. Well, Mark, I really appreciate your time. It was been a really insightful episode. How do listeners and viewers get in touch with you if they'd like to pick up the conversation?
Yes, thank you, and thank you for inviting me to have a chat with you today. It's been really good. So people can use your channels. We're on LinkedIn. Mark Wood, Alliance Procurement Solutions. Follow me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Follow our company page, and by all means. We're updating our website, so it's not great at the minute, if I'm honest, but allianceprocurementsolutions.co.uk is our web address, and we'll be happy to talk to anybody who'd like just to have a chat and understand more.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again, Mark. It's a pleasure to have you. I'll see you soon.
Cheers, Rich. Thank you.
Take care. I hope you got as much as I did from this conversation. It was incredibly insightful to hear Mark's perspectives on the importance of understanding a business's appetite for change and the critical role of data in identifying low-hanging fruit for improvements. His examples of significant cost savings and increased profitability through process optimization truly highlight the tangible benefits of strategic procurement and business intelligence. It was also useful to hear his thoughts on democratizing data and empowering teams to make a difference, moving away from the soldier work to more strategic, value-adding activities. If you're wondering how to get the systems in place to capture useful data, download our free ebook and digital transformation framework, Fearless. It's free at flowlens.com and sets out the 8 key stages for a successful and managed digital transformation in your business. Please help us spread the word about Made to Grow by sharing this episode with colleagues who might find it of interest. And if you're not subscribed already, do subscribe on your favourite channel. Till next time.